Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I'm your teacher Simin Amir, and today I'm here again with a new lecture. I hope you are having a great time. Let's start today's lecture. This is my lecture number 17 and for grade Trio, and today we have a history class. We have already started chapter number 4, which is about how important was the work of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan to the development of the Pakistan movement in the 19th century. In the previous lecture, we learned about one of the greatest philosophers of history, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Taqi bin Syed Muhammad Muttaqi, he was commonly known as Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, was an Islamic reformer and philosopher of 19th century in British India. He was born into a family with strong depths to the Mughal court, and he studied the Quran and sciences within the court. He was a teacher and a politician. He was a philosopher as well. He was also a social reformer. He founded the school and that would later become Aligarh Muslim University. We also learned about that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan started a movement which was known as Aligarh movement, and the Aligarh movement was the push to establish a modern system of education for the Muslim population of British India during the later decades of the 19th century. So why he started like to improve the Muslim and British relationships, especially after the War of Independence, then to increase political awareness among Muslims, and to reform Muslim educational system through introducing Western education to lead to better economical status. The movement had a good impact on the Muslim community, like overall improvement in the Muslim educational, their social, economical, and political status, and it was like it led to the creation of Pakistan. Now for today's lecture, we are going to start from page number 37, which is the second aim of the Aligarh movement, and that is the encouraging the growth of Western education. As we have seen, after the War of 1857, the Muslim community was subject to discrimination at the hands of the British. While other groups were supported, the Hindus, for example, had decided that they should work with the British. This helped the British to see them as a counter to the supposedly disloyal Muslims. So Hindus were keen to learn the English language and to acquire means to get or to learn a British education in the subcontinent. This helped them to gain employment and to make progress in society. By 1871, there were 711 Hindus in government employment compared to with only 92 Muslims. So Sir Syed Ahmad Khan also supported the idea of Western education as he knew that Muslims could not succeed until they had high quality education which was received by the Hindus. He believed that the acceptance of Western scientific and technological ideas was necessary, as this could only make Muslim advance in the world of science. He related this with Holy Quran, that it was written in Quran that the study and that an understanding of modern scientific belief actually had revealed the full majesty of God. So the Hindu movement gained strength as more and more Hindus received education in the new schools, colleges, and universities, which were like springing up. This increased confidence among Hindus also led them to view Muslims with an increasing lack of respect. So Sir Syed took steps to change Muslim attitudes towards receiving British education. In doing this, he came into conflict with some of the ulama. Some of the ulama believed that the acceptance of Western and scientific and technological ideas might undermine Islamic beliefs. So that's why Sir Sayyid believed that the Holy Quran emphasized the need to study and that an understanding of modern scientific beliefs actually helped to reveal the full majesty of Allah. So Sir Sayyid Ahmad Khan established Scientific Society at Ghazipur, and its main purpose was making scientific writing available to more people. When he visited England, he was really impressed by the quality of education the student received there. So in 1875, he founded Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College. Its main purpose was to provide the education to the Muslims, like the people in England received. The subject were mathematics, modern sciences, and the agricultural sciences. In 1920, the college became the University of Aligarh. Why he was so worried for Muslims to get Western education? Because Hindus made scientific progress, and there was an easy communication with British. They had better job opportunities, and like we were able, if we would have this education, we would be able to defend Islam against the Western criticism, and there would be an overall improvement in the Muslim status. So, what actually he did to gain support for his views, Sir Sayyid set up an Urdu journal called Tehzeeb-ul Akhlaq. This journal contains articles from influential Muslims who agreed with Sir Syed Ahmad Khan that there was a need for a new approach to education. Although some ulama attacked the journal also, it played a major part in bringing about an intellectual revolution amongst the Muslim thinkers. In 1863, Sir Syed founded the Scientific Society at Ghazipur. Its main purpose was to make scientific writings available to a wider market by translating them from English, Persian, or Arabic into Urdu. When he was transferred to Aligarh in 1864, he continued his work and in 1866 began issuing a journal called the Aligarh Institute Gazette. He had already shown his commitment to expanding educational opportunities when in 1859 he opened a school in Muradabad. In 1864, he opened another school in Ghazipur. In 1869, Sir Said traveled to England to study the university system there. He dreamed of setting up a university for Muslims in the subcontinent. He was very impressed by the universities of Oxford and Cambridge and hoped to set up an educational institution based on their model. However, on returning home, he found that his plans were often met with uh, um, suspicions. He could not start with a university, so he straight away started with a school. A committee was set up which toured the country, raised funds for a new Muslim school, and on 24th May 1875, the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental School was set up in Aligarh on the pattern of English public school system because he was concerned about the Oxford and Cambridge system of education. He thought that if we want to compete the British, we would have their education first. So the British would not allow it to be affiliated with a Muslim university outside British territory. So for the moment, it could not become the Muslim university that Sir Syed wanted. The college offered both Western and Indian education, though Islamic education was also provided. It became much more than an educational institution. In the days before the Muslim League, it became a symbol of Muslim unity. Many of the future leaders of Pakistan such as Liaquat Ali Khan and Ayub Khan were educated there, and some historians have commented that college was the institution which contributed more than any other to the formation of Pakistan. Aligarh Muslim University is a public central university in Aligarh, India, which was originally established by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan as the Muhammad Anglo-Oriental College in 1875. And this college became Aligarh Muslim University in 1920 following the Aligarh Muslim University Act. The educational services of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan had a great impact on the Muslim community as Muslims began to value education. Muslims' revival, self-improvement, and better jobs led to economical status, and there were feelings of self-worth, aware of their rights, educated Muslims to talk, debate, and convince the British to listen to them, and the origin of the All India Muslim League in the 20th session of Mohammedan Educational Conference. The third aim of the Aligarh movement was increasing political awareness. Sir Said was determined to improve the status of Muslim community, uh, and he also wanted Muslims to have good relations with the Hindus. But he found out that Hindus did not want good relations with Muslims. So, to improve the status of the Muslim community, he wrote a pamphlet called The Causes of the Indian Revolt, in which he pointed out the British failure to understand Indian feelings was the biggest cause. And he also wrote The Loyal Mohammedans of India. In this work, he defended the Muslims from the British accusation that they were disloyal. He gave a detailed account of the loyal services which Muslims had given, and even some of the names of the Muslims were also mentioned who had shown particular loyalty to the British. And he also wrote some books in which he highlighted similarities between Christianity and Islam. Due to lack of resources, the work was not finished, but it showed Sir Syed's commitment to improving relationship between the British and the um, Muslims. He also warned the Muslim community about the threat of Congress. He advised them to stay away. He created opposition to extension of the democracy in India, and he opposed the Congress suggestion of appointments in government. He also gave his services for the competitive examination, and he played a brilliant role during the Hindi-Urdu controversy. He believed that Muslims should have good relations with Hindus as they had a common long-term aim to restore the authority of the local people in their own country. However, Sir Said soon realized that Hindus were not so keen on working with Muslims, and this led him to the conclusion that two groups could not work together. In time, he came to believe that Hindus and Muslims were different enough to be considered as two separate groups within the subcontinent, so he gave his two nation theory. There were positive impacts on Muslim community um because of the political services of Sir Said Ahmad Khan, as he created a greater political awareness among Muslims, and even he emphasized Muslim concern about their political representation that led to the forming of the Muslim League. And he also told us about the two nation theory to lead towards the partition of India, and Muslims were able to debate with the British confidently about their political rights and representation. He started Aligarh University for Muslims that gave us future Muslim leaders, and with the students of Aligarh University, who played a significant role in the Pakistan movement. The Indian National Congress, one of the retired British Indian civil service officer, founded the Indian National Congress in order to form a platform for civil and political dialogue among the educated Indians. And its aim was to obtain a greater share in government for educated Indians and to create a platform for civic and political dialogue between them and the British Raj. So in 1885, the Indian National Congress was formed. The British saw this body as a means by which they could hear the views of the educated elites in Indian society. The Congress said that it would represent the views of all the communities within India, regardless of their religion. However, it soon became apparent that the Congress was a Hindu dominated body which was working to establish Hindu supremacy over the Muslims. Political representation. Like a good example of this was the call by Congress for the introduction of the democratic system of political representation similar to that practiced in Britain. This sounded fair, but since there were 4 times as many Hindus as Muslims, they would win every election. Democracy would leave the Muslims with no representation at all. Like the Congress called for the election in the country. But as they were in majority and Muslims were in minority, obviously they would have all the seats nominated for the Indians. Competitive examination. Congress also suggested that appointments in the government service should be by competitive examination. And they know that they actually knew that Muslims were not receiving education of a standard similar to that received by Hindus. This would greatly disadvantage them. So Sir Syed commented that only when equal educational opportunities were provided could such an idea work. So this was the reason it was important for the important was that Congress spoke of competitive examination for jobs and good posts, while Muslims were always not given good education, so they were also not able to take good posts as Hindu won all the seats and passed the examinations always. According to two nation theory, Sir Syed suggested it as two separate groups of Muslims and Hindus were not working for the Muslims at that time, so two nation theory was important here as well. So I think this is enough for today's lecture. Here is your assignment. You have to do 2 questions. The first question is, what was the Aligarh movement? And you have to create your answer just in a para for 4 marks only. What was the Aligarh movement? Just tell me what Aligarh movement was and briefly like all 3 aims in a para. You have to give all 3 aims in a para. Then, do you agree that Sir Syed Ahmad Khan's most important contribution to the Muslim community was his support for education? Give reasons for your answer. Now, this question is for 14 marks, and you know that you have to create your descriptive answer in detail. So, like, do you agree? Now, this is your own choice. You agreed or not that his support for education was his most important contribution for the Muslim community. You you might write about as he gave his two nation theory, or he like worked for the Hindi Urdu controversy, and he also worked in so many other ways, like he worked for the reconciliation of the Muslims and the British. So it's all your own choice, but you have to give solid reasons as you have in your question, like give reasons for your answer. You have to give very very solid reasons in a 4 to 5 paras, and then in conclusion you will say like which one was his most important contribution for the Muslim. So must write about all of his contribution, all of his support for for Hindi Urdu controversy, for his theory like two nation theory, must write about his work for the reconciliation of the Muslims, must write about his political awareness of the Muslims, and must write about for his support for the education, whatever he did. And then in conclusion, you have to decide which contribution was the greatest. Thank you so much, dear students, for watching this video. If you have any confusion regarding the material you have in your book, regarding the lecture, regarding the questions that I have given, please drop down your queries in the comment box, and we'll meet up again with another video, with another lecture. Till then, bye.